Hey there, everybody. This is Samantha Harms with the Garrison Public Affairs Office, and on this week's episode, we are talking with the current Garrison Commander, Colonel Chad R. Foster, right before he changes command tomorrow, actually. So we're going to chat with him, hear what he has to say looking back over the last couple of years. Let's get into it on this week's episode of The Great Big Podcast.
Hello and welcome back. I'm Eric Franklin with the Garrison Public Affairs, and today in the studio we have a classic rock aficionado who just so happens to be the Garrison Commander. We have Colonel Chad Foster in the studio. How are you doing today, sir?
Pretty good. I don't know if I would classify myself as a classic rock aficionado, although I like it. I'm more of a metal and punk kind of guy, but I like it all. Metal. So that sounds good to me.
Okay.
Well, we want to say thank you for taking time out of your incredibly busy schedule at this point, because you are almost out of this seat, out of this position. So thank you for coming on the podcast with us one more time. Yeah,
it's been a great journey. 2 years, I guess a little over 2 years technically, but. Yeah, changing command, I guess tomorrow.
Yeah.
And, it's, anytime you come to the end of something, I think most of us that have been in the Army for a while know that it's never really an end to anything. It's just the start of something new. And that's, that's kind of what's going on here. Although I will say, there's a big part of me that's fairly sad about... not being able to be the Garrison Commander anymore. It's been a great ride, great team, a great installation, and a great community overall.
So for you, sir, you came in, and I've over the past year or so now that I've been here, like you say all the time, there's nothing that can prepare you to be a Garrison Commander. How has this changed your look on how the installation runs?
Well, I think I can describe it best by describing, how I think most of us in uniform view what goes on an installation somewhere where we're stationed, and we just think things just happen.
Yeah,
and there's a part of us that recognizes, there's somebody doing something, but we don't know what that is, and most of the time we're not that concerned with it. However, now having seen it from, I guess, this side and through this lens, I have an incredible appreciation for what it takes to make an installation, especially one the size of Fort Cavazos run on a daily basis. We have a literal army of incredible civilian professionals and soldiers, contractors, everybody that works to make all of the things that often we take for granted, make those things happen. So it's been great to be a part of that team. It's been great to see behind the curtain, so to speak.
Yeah.
It also has led me to recognize just how complex, not just complicated, but complex, that the garrison operation really is.
Yeah.
We don't think in terms, and we can't, in most situations when you're in the Army, you think in terms of weeks and months. We have to think in terms of years and decades.
Yeah.
Because absolutely everything that we do is an investment for the future. And it's an investment that we know darn well that we are very unlikely to ever personally see that investment come to fruition. It's like the old saying says about, thinking strategically, is that if you're really going to be a strategic thinker and a strategic leader, you have to be willing to plant the seed of a shade tree that you'll never be able to sit, underneath and enjoy the shade, but you're going to do that so that someone else can enjoy it and benefit from it.
Yeah, that is an incredible viewpoint, especially considering something that we just did a couple of weeks ago was, and you had talked about this in your speech during it, but we just cut the ribbon for the new houses,
yes,
in Heritage Heights, and that was something that you had mentioned in your speech that. Yeah, okay, you didn't necessarily start this project, but you got to see it completed. Somebody else started it. And on top of that, there's going to be much more progress that happens well after you have left this position. So yeah, that's a really great point of view for people, especially for young leaders, young soldiers who are looking to, grow in their
it was great having now Colonel retired Jason Westbrook, my predecessor in Garrison Command, in the audience, because he was in command when that investment in housing really started and picked up speed, and it was. We're not anywhere near the finish line.
Yeah,
and
definitely
I don't think you can ever say that we ever will be, because this is a constant effort. Constantly working towards the improvement of the quality of life for our soldiers and military families. And this was just a big milestone. It was a big milestone. And as I said, in my remarks that day, I concluded with a statement. I said, there's a lot more to come, and that is absolutely true. I mean, ultimately, we're going to end up with, I think it's just about 580 new homes. Over there, and we just have one. So this is the number one. Working towards 500, about 580. So it's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there'll be like 3 more Garrison commanders before it's completed. Maybe at least 2 more.
Maybe not. You never know.
I think there'll be. I think you'll see a lot in the next 2 years. So my successor, Colonel Stokes, she'll get to see a lot of that really come to fruition. But you're right. I don't think it'll be completely done until probably the next one after her. But you never know. I mean, the most important thing is that we do this right. We hired 2 engineers specifically within our Director of Public Works so that we could do quality assurance and kind of check on the construction process. And while it is our privatized housing partners that are doing the construction, we have a responsibility in the Garrison to ensure that it's done the right way. And that's the whole reason we hired those individuals, to make sure that we don't have some kind of systemic design flaw, that we don't move too quickly. And, luckily to this point, there's been really nothing to change, because our Lend-Lease and Cavalry Family Housing Partners, they've really approached this with the right mentality, which is, hey, let's do it as fast as we can, but only as fast as we can also ensure a high level of quality.
Yeah, that's great. Well, something else you mentioned was that this was a key milestone. And of course, over the last couple of years, we've done a lot of great things, had a lot of things happen, including our name change and Freedom Fest that just happened. And there's just been it's hard to remember all the things that have happened.
It has,
do you want to talk about maybe some favorite moments that you've had?
Well, it's hard to pick a favorite moment, because there's several of those. I'd say one of the highlights, and just happened really, like I said, a couple weeks ago, when I get to play some guitar for a bunch of kids over at Child and Youth Services in a couple of our youth centers. That was really kind of a special moment, because I haven't played in front of a big crowd of people in a while, and it's been a few years, and I was surprised by right before I went in to play. Suddenly, my mouth gets a little dry,
getting a little nervous.
And I'm like, wow, I'm generally don't get nervous about those kind of things. But then, I don't know. I guess it was about, hey, knowing that I'm going to have like a group of kids for anywhere from, I guess 6 and 7 to 14 years old, listening to me play, and man, are they even going to know the stuff I'm going to play?
Yeah.
And it turned out okay. I was asked after I played a couple of tunes, and I was getting ready to walk off, and Miss Sheila Curtis, who was our head of Child and Youth Services, said, hey, can you play one more? And I was like, well, I was thinking, I hadn't really rehearsed anything. So I had to think, okay, well, what do I know how to play that I can go in cold, not having really rehearsed it, and play it from, kind of beginning to end. And I picked a song by a band called The Germs, which, I'm sure no one in that room knew who they were, but just the fact that you have a band called The Germs.
Yeah, great name. That's a great name.
The kids kind of like the fact that, it's a band called The Germs. That sounds cool. So it worked out okay. But that was a really special moment. There's been a lot, and I like to always highlight, I guess probably more appropriately, categories of events. So I really have enjoyed the community interaction here. The Central Texas community is pretty special, and they've really been front and center in a lot of things that we've done in the last 2 years, and we've done those things together. And one thing I would highlight would be what we did together to help alleviate some of the financial pressure on newly arrived military families. When we were really last summer, in the summer of 22, when we were having probably the height of the nationwide housing crisis, and that was coming to fruition here as well. Not something that we're used to in this area, having like a huge explosion in housing costs. But that's exactly what happened, and the housing inventory just outside the installation boundaries was significantly lower than what it's ever been before. And so, of course, that brings with it higher costs, and then you got these new families coming here, and in some cases they didn't have really very many options, sometimes no options. So we knew we had to do something about that, and what I ended up going out to the community and asking them, kind of hat in hand, and saying, hey, I need your help. I need single-family residences, apartments, townhouses, single-family homes, whatever I can get, high-quality, safe, multiple bedrooms, available and set aside to military families exclusively for rent, week to week, month to month, not year-long leases that are hard to break, but really just kind of week to week, month to month type of situations for those families to take advantage of while they're waiting for their permanent housing solution to open up, whether that's on post or off post. And it's important to remember that only about 25% of our military families live on Fort Cavazos. The other 75% are out in Colleen, Coppers Cove, Harker Heights, Belton, Temple, Gatesville, wherever, and other locations as well. So it was pretty significant. Yeah. They were waiting for these homes to open up, and we were able to do that. We were able to establish this thing called a military value program. And the military value program allowed military families to do exactly that. And we got about, at last count, I believe it's 85 properties that are involved in that. And I wanted the rent to be, I knew we couldn't get it exactly to the basic allowance for housing rate. That just wasn't going to economically, there's not feasible. Yeah. But I wanted it as close to it as possible, and that is what we were able to do. Significantly cheaper than what if a family wants to stay in a hotel room. Yeah. One with sometimes there's only one bed in it, and you got 2 or 3 kids and a dog. But doing those things like that, we're able to leave at least a little bit of pressure on those families. And we continue to tout that program as something that's an option. We continue to work to make it better. And I think that's one of the things I'm probably the most proud of, is that we were able to do something about that. I'm also proud of the fact that we were instrumental in doing some analysis and providing that to Army senior leaders, which then resulted in the latest National Defense Authorization Act, a directive coming out of that the Army, and it's really the Department of Defense that does this, to readdress how they calculate anchor points for basic allowance for housing. And even though we got BAH, basic allowance for housing, even though we got pretty good increases just this year in January, where we saw was the anchor points. And the anchor points are really, that's how you calculate what type of home or size of home that a soldier's family is, I guess, going to be entitled to. Right. And it's really it's based on type of house and bedroom. So the one that really kind of concerned me was our junior population, our E5s, sergeants and below, and really our E4s and below, but including the sergeants as well. And those families are only authorized, 2-bedroom homes. Oh wow! And in fact, the sergeant is authorized with dependents a 2-bedroom townhouse, whereas the specialist or E4 to private is authorized the midpoint between the cost of a 2-bedroom townhouse and a 2-bedroom apartment. Well, all that's just a complicated way of saying is the Army and really the Department of Defense is saying these soldiers need 2 bedrooms, but from our calculations, looking at our population, and we do have one of the highest, if not the highest, concentration of 18 to 24-year-old soldiers in the Army right here at Fort Cavazos. And what we're seeing from those junior soldiers that have families is that they don't need 2 bedrooms; they need 3 bedrooms. Sometimes more. So sticking them with a 2-bedroom authorization is something that we really needed to work on, and I'm happy to say that we contributed to a growing awareness of that. And I'm hopeful that in the next year that the Department of Defense will relook that, and we'll have some kind of movement to improve that particular topic.
All right, sir. So, as you change out tomorrow, what's next for you? Where do you go next?
Well, I get to stay around here. Thank goodness.
Yes.
This place has been great to me and my family. I love it here, and I'd be willing to go somewhere else. But I had a great opportunity here to stay at Fort Cavazos and to go to a position with the 3rd Armored Corps right here. Stay right here on this great installation amongst this community. So I'll get to do that. I'll get to watch from, I guess, down the hall a little bit to see Colonel Stokes, my replacement, and all the success that she's going to have with this great team. So I'll be hanging around a little while longer. I don't know, maybe that's a good thing for everybody. Maybe not. I don't know.
It's a good thing for us. We like seeing you.
But it's a good thing for me. I know that, and I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to continue to enjoy every minute that I get to be around this great community.
The summer, we still have a couple more weeks left in summer. Do you have any concerts or anything that you have coming up that you're going to go check out?
Oh, I thought you were asking if he had any more concerts that he would be playing.
Yeah, well, that too. Yeah. He may.
Well, I don't have anything on my own personal, my personal schedule for that. But no. I'm on right now. I'm really looking forward to seeing when Megadeth is going to tour in support of their stateside, in support of their newest album. So I saw them last year before the new album was released. I saw their last show on last year's tour, which was in Nashville. I went to see that, but I'm hoping they come maybe to Austin or somewhere nearby. Because I'm a huge Megadeth and Dave Mustaine fan. I'm potentially right now. My plan is to go see Kiss on their last tour. They've been saying they were going to stop touring for a while, but I think that this is going to be probably the last one. So I'm looking to see them either at the Austin show or up in Dallas.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm always on the lookout for something new like that. But those are the two I'm kind of thinking about most right now.
Coolio.
All right. So obviously you've talked a little bit. I know you're excited to stay here with your family. Is there anything that you want to highlight for people who are moving here for the first time? Stuff that they should maybe check out? Yeah.
So anybody that's coming here to be stationed at Fort Cavazos in Central Texas, in my opinion, has really hit the jackpot. There is so much to do here, just from a recreational perspective, both on the installation and off the installation. Central Texas, we're right in the middle, hence the name, Central Texas, right? We're right in the middle, between Dallas, Austin, Waco, Houston, and there's so much to do in that, I guess, that big circle going all the way out there. But you don't have to really travel that far to find a lot of really neat things to do. If you like the outdoors, we got it. If you like good food, we got that. It's pretty fantastic what the options are. But I'll say this: if you're looking for professional opportunities, there's not a whole lot of places that have more professional opportunities, really, for just about any branch, military occupational specialty in the Army than right here. The 3rd Armored Corps headquarters, the 1st Cavalry Division, all of the separate brigades that are here offer an extensive and unmatched variety of professional opportunities to where you can work in your field, you can work maybe out of your field a little bit if that's something you want, a developmental opportunity for something. In the Army, we have these things called key and developmental jobs that you have to do and you have to perform well in. There's a lot of focus on you when you're in those jobs, and that determines whether or not you're going to be promoted to the next level or if you're going to be selected for one of those key jobs later on, such as command positions and otherwise. And really, Fort Cavazos has those opportunities to a level that are really difficult to match because we're an installation that has a Corps headquarters that brings with it its own set of opportunities, but the uniqueness of an armored corps, especially for not just for our tankers and helicopter pilots and artillery, soldiers and things like that, but our maintainers, our sustainers, our logisticians, our mechanics. If you're a logistician as an officer or a non-commissioned officer or a warrant officer, I'm here to tell you, if you want to come to get your PhD, so to speak, in sustaining combat forces, you can't do better than here. Yeah. And also, if you want to work in various, if you're an engineer, for example, and you want to do something that's kind of a little bit out of the norm, like for example, if you want to help us do wildfire mitigation. If you want us,
happens a lot.
Yeah, it does, and I'm thankful for the 36th Engineer Brigade and what they do for us. But those types of opportunities here are unmatched. So I'd say no matter what your specialty is, and no matter what your goals are, if you have a chance to come to Fort Cavazos, you should. You should give it a chance, and I think it's definitely going to pay off for you. It's certainly paid off for me and my family.
All right, sir. I have just maybe two more questions for you, but the first one is, you've mentioned Colonel Stokes is going to come in. What are the key things that you're going to show her around? Are you going to bring her down here to us, let her talk to us?
It might scare her a little bit.
Yeah, we're a little intense.
Kind of intimidating.
Yeah, we are.
No, absolutely not. That's not true. Yeah, absolutely. I think that what you do in the public affairs arena is very important. We need to tell our story because it's a great story. She needs to get out in the community. We're gonna make sure she gets out into the community and meets all these great leaders, groups of Texans that are right outside the gate and do great things for us. But she's gonna have to get to know our customers too, and our customer primarily are the soldiers and family members here on the installation who work and serve here. And she's gonna have an ample opportunity to do that as well. You got to listen to them, you got to see them. And it always brings things home. You wonder why if you ever wonder why you're doing this, all you got to do is go out there, visit one of our child development centers where parents are dropping their kids off before they go to a hard day at work, or go see our public works teams that are out there making repairs after a storm, or something like a winter storm, like what we've had over the last couple of years, there's just so many places and aspects of this team. And the only piece of advice, or probably the best piece of advice I think anybody can give is, you got to figure out how to lead people that know more than you. It was a great article. I think it was in Harvard Business Review that was the title, How to Lead People That Know More Than You. And I cannot say enough that is exactly what being a garrison commander is like. They do not train and prepare us in uniform for jobs like this. I'm a armor officer, tanks and Bradleys and scouting, and that kind of thing is what I do and have done for 2 decades. And then suddenly it's like, hey, you're gonna be basically a mayor and a city manager for a very good sized city.
Yeah.
And I have all these directorates. We have all these directorates who are filled with subject matter experts and professionals who have been doing this type of work for sometimes decades. Mm-hmm. And to think that you're going to come in as the new person and just show everybody the ropes and fix every problem and know everything is absurd. You're not.
Yeah.
So the best you can do, and really it's not, and that's not to say that it's always the only thing you can do. No, but the best you can do, and the best thing you can do, is set some priorities, show people that you care, and set the conditions for those teams to be successful in what they do. And if they're successful in what they do, that means that our soldiers and families are getting taken care of.
Absolutely.
And we're accomplishing our mission. That's what the bottom line is. And if you can do that, then you'll be successful. But it doesn't matter what accomplishments you have. At the end of anything, and this has been my experience, and after I was a conclusion of being a company commander, conclusion of my time as a major, as an S3 and an XO, the conclusion of my time being a battalion commander, and now you feel maybe you don't feel like an abject failure, but you feel pretty close to it sometimes because you're thinking, oh wow, we could have done this. I wish I would have been able to do more here, or whatever. And while that's a fairly disheartening way to feel sometimes, what I do take some comfort in that. That's probably exactly how we should always feel, because you should always feel that there's more to be done. And if you have that kind of mentality, that means you're going to be focused constantly on finding those new things to do and finding those new ways to improve. Because if you don't, then you're probably in the wrong business.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was everything. Sam, do you have anything else?
I think I want to just close up by asking if there's anything else that you wanted to share. Any other things you want to highlight, whether it's for Colonel Stokes or for people who are moving here for the first time or who are still living here and trying to get their feet wet, and or just looking back on your time as garrison commander.
This has really been the hardest job that I've ever done in the Army. by far. The level of complexity that you deal with, the nonstop, tempo. When one thing I got used to very quickly was that, well, we might have a day of no training for the rest of the installation, but that doesn't mean anything for me, because when my civilian professionals are working, then that means I am too.
Yeah.
And so you can sit somewhere on a Friday when the rest of the installation is, or most of the installation, because we're never completely off. Soldiers are always working, and they're always doing something, right? And because they're the ones that make all of this go. But most people might be off doing something else, and you're here. But the great thing about it is that you're here, and you're watching other people do great things. And hopefully you're contributing a little bit to it, to making their life easier and to making their job more, more beneficial, more effective. So there's that. That's kind of an interesting aspect of being a garrison commander that I know Colonel Stokes, I think, already realizes and will certainly have great success with here. But I guess the last thing that I would end with, just thanks to everybody out there listening. Thanks for being who you are. Thanks for being American soldiers, being family members, being veterans, whatever. Thanks to this great garrison team who have really, through thick and thin, just put in a fantastic day's work, day in and day out. It's an amazing thing to watch. It was an amazing thing to be a part of, and I was very happy to have this opportunity.
All right. Well, thank you again, sir, for coming in and talking with us. We'll know we're going to see you in the hallway again, and the Garrison Public Affairs office is always open to you if you want to come and visit and hang out.
That's great. If you can somehow figure out between our DFMWR, fantastic DFMWR team, and everyone else, if you can figure out a way to get Megadeth here for a show on base, I would be eternally grateful, because I certainly was not able to succeed in that endeavor.
That's his one disappointment.
Yeah, maybe my greatest disappointment is that I wasn't able to do that.
Dang it!
But it's been great, and thank you for your time.
All right, thanks.
Thank you so much.
Hey everyone, not going to be online for a while. Got a big mission to kill some terrorists in Terra Islamabad tomorrow, so don't worry about me.
An ambush today left 15 soldiers dead outside of Terra Islamabad. Will your next Facebook post or tweet kill you or your friends? The terrorists are waiting for you to give them the information they need to kill Americans and the American dream. When you share sensitive information on social networking sites, you might as well join the terrorists. Don't be a terrorist. Remember OPSEC. This message brought to you by the Don't Help Terrorists Murder the American Dream Coalition.
Every time I see Colonel Foster, it's like seeing an old friend. I really enjoy talking with him, and I've really enjoyed his leadership over this past 2 years.
Yeah, I have too, and I feel the same way. But I'm definitely looking forward to getting to know Colonel Stokes.
Yes.
And seeing her leadership style and learning all about her. So we're definitely looking forward. I know I'm looking forward to having her come on this podcast.
Yeah, I am too. I think we look forward to everyone coming on the podcast.
We really do, yeah. We're an equal opportunity here.
Yes, we are.
We look forward to everybody.
We want to talk. We want to hear everyone's story.
We really do.
I love hearing that, oh man, that was way easier than what I was thinking it was going to be as soon as they get done. Yeah.
See, I love when we end recording and then both you and I are like, okay, I know we said on the podcast that we learned a lot, but we actually did learn a lot. Like, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Especially, I know we talked about this before, but the CPAC episode where we learned about what CPAC is and different jobs. As soon as we were done recording, you're like, wow, I actually didn't know any of that about my actual job.
and here's a quick little update for anyone. If you have any problems and you are already a government employee, make sure you reach out to those representatives and they will help you solve your problems. I know this, had a problem, they're working it.
Learned experience, a lived experience. And
they were very quick and responsive with it too. So just so you know, and that's not just because I had them on the podcast either.
No, although when you told them what your problem was, the look on their face was hilarious.
The look of concern.
This was a real problem.
Yeah, this is like, are you serious right now? And I was like, yes. It's like, Are you playing with me? And I was like, no, I
This is a real problem.
This
I'm
is a
having.
real problem. But they're fixing it, so we're
Yes,
good to go.
they are, which is great.
Yeah, that was pretty much it for this week. Well, nope, I take that back. This week was a short but long week because we had Tuesday off.
Yes, we did, because it was 4th of July. So
And it was
happy
amazing.
4th of July to everybody. Belated, I guess we should say.
Belated, same
4th of
thing.
July. Did you do anything fun? for the 4th?
I went to the fireworks. I went and saw some out in Belton. I didn't make it to the ones in Killeen because theirs was on over the weekend and I was out of town.
Saturday.
So, but I did make it out last night
Nice.
on actual 4th of July. I made it out to Belton, which was great.
That's awesome. I went to the Round Rock Express baseball game.
How was
They
that?
won. Very exciting, 2-0.
Oh, that's not
Look at
bad.
me, knowing my baseball facts.
Don't we have a resident baseball expert?
We do, actually.
We
Yes.
do.
We got to start doing Sports with Sam again, where you tell me about sports.
Yes, and we already know who we're going to have in there.
Absolutely. Yes. I'm looking forward to bringing that back.
Yes.
And we're looking forward to bringing back all of our other segments as well, with some new ones coming up,
Yes.
hopefully. So stay tuned for that, to our listeners. And speaking of course, we always have to do our quick little news briefs. It's
Yes.
the same as the last couple of weeks have been.
Okay.
We have the upcoming full-scale
Exercise,
yes, on July 11th. So just be prepared for that. You can learn swim. We've got swim classes here going on with DFMWR, Directorate of Family and Morale, Welfare and Recreation. And most importantly, with DFMWR and Blora, which is the Belton Lake Outdoor Recreation Area. I always have to make sure I say it in the right order. They are going to do a movie in the park. The last one got canceled due to weather.
Yes, I remember
But
that.
it is this Saturday. So I don't know the movie off the top of my head, but you can look it up on their Facebook page. It's going to be out there. You can bring your own snacks and blankets and picnic baskets and all the good stuff. So you guys can go out and enjoy a free, well, not free.
It's weather cheap because it's by the carload.
Yes.
So you technically
Yes, that's what it is, by the
Yeah.
carload. So pile up into a car, everybody get into a car,
and bring your own snacks and you go like,
Yes.
oh, watch this. And you're going to have a great time.
Absolutely, yeah. So
Yep.
there you go. That's what I got for news briefs this week.
Oh, just not a lot. A couple new things, couple old
That's
things.
repeats, but one new thing.
Everybody, you're learning.
That's
And
right.
this is how you learn, is because it's like, oh, you know what? They just said that on the podcast the other day. So there you have it. So
There
you're
you
not
have
going to forget it. That's what we do. Repetition. This is the military.
Oh boy. Okay, well with that, I think that's all we have.
Yes, that is it.
All right, everybody. We will talk to you next week.
Bye. This podcast is a U.S. Army Garrison Fort Cavazos and Fort Cavazos Public Affairs production. Have a question or want to share some of your wisdom with us? Drop us an email at fortcavazos@gmail.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fort Cavazos Army. And as always, be sure to leave us a review and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.